pas ainsi. Voilà. Bon, c'est quoi Battletech Heavy Metal? Ouais, c'est pour moi, je...
Bonjour et bienvenue, voici notre tour d'horizon économique, géopolitique, sanitaire et boursier. Nous sommes le lundi 20 avril. Et pour comprendre comment tourne la planète finance, c'est lorsqu'elle tourne autour du grand attracteur monétaire de la Fed. C'est sur la bourse au quotidien et nulle part ailleurs. Et l'épisode du jour s'intitulera « La Fed expérimente la machine à remonter le temps ». Oui, si cette époque ne vous plaît pas, si ce grand confinement vous déprime, eh bien, changez tout simplement d'époque. Alors, on ne va pas vous demander de vous projeter dans un avenir qu'on ne connaît pas, non. La Fed nous ramène au contraire dans un passé que l'on connaît bien et qui nous plaisait beaucoup. Par exemple, le Nasdaq 100, au 3 janvier dernier, il se négocie aux alentours des 8750. Eh bien, vendredi dernier, on l'a vu atteindre 8880. Autrement dit, au soir du 17 avril, on était au-delà des niveaux du 1er, même du 3 janvier. Autrement dit, la crise du coronavirus n'avait pas encore eu lieu. Quand on constate les cours vendredi, donc cette crise n'a pas eu lieu, on n'a pas été confiné, le PIB ne s'est pas contracté de 6,5 ou 7% au premier trimestre en Europe, il ne s'est pas contracté de 8% en Chine, et il ne se contractera donc pas de 20 ou 25% au deuxième trimestre, en étant extrêmement optimiste, puisque d'après les dernières prévisions que j'ai pu lire, découvrir chez tous nos amis banquiers, stratèges et conjoncturistes qui ont tourné les modèles, on serait entre moins 25 et moins 35% de PIB aux États-Unis. Donc, grâce à la machine à remonter le temps de la Fed, on est revenu donc, à une époque où on anticipait aller à un bon 0,4 ou 0,5% de croissance au deuxième trimestre aux États-Unis, et où on espérait encore une croissance mondiale de l'ordre de 0,7 ou 0,8% par trimestre. Alors qu'on va connaître là plutôt de l'ordre de moins 4 ou moins 5%. Je parle à l'échelle planétaire. Voilà, donc j'aime beaucoup la machine à remonter le temps de la Fed, sauf qu'elle nous fait peut-être plutôt perdre notre temps, car il y a bien un moment où les valorisations boursières et la conjoncture vont se reconnecter. Alors, on a eu un début de reconnexion assez douloureuse début mars. On a eu du moins 30, moins 40% sur certains indices avant un rebond spectaculaire. Beaucoup de vieux briscards de Wall Street pensent que par rapport au cours auquel nous sommes revenus vendredi dernier, une valorisation à peu près cohérente, ça serait moins 50 par rapport aux cours actuels. Vendredi, le PER du S&P 500 est revenu à 18,5. Attendez, c'est 18,5 par rapport à 2019 et surtout par rapport à des perspectives de croissance en 2020 qui auraient été identiques à 2019. Autrement dit, compte tenu de la récession qui se profile pour 2020, la valorisation du S&P serait plutôt au-delà de 25, contre une moyenne historique de 13. En ce qui concerne le Nasdaq 100, revenu donc à plus de 8850 vendredi, on est au-delà de 40 en termes de PER, mais avec une répartition extrêmement inégale, puisque vous avez les 5 valeurs, les GAFAM, 5 valeurs qui pèsent aujourd'hui pratiquement 40% de la valorisation du Nasdaq 100. Je ne sais pas si on se figure. Les GAFAM pèsent également 22% du S&P 500. Mais pour en revenir au Nasdaq 100, ça veut dire que 95% des composantes du Nasdaq 100 ne font que 60% de la hausse, et avec une répartition extrêmement inégale, puisque plus de la moitié des valeurs du Nasdaq 100 vont dégager des pertes, je dis bien des pertes, en 2020. Il y en a au moins un bon tiers dont on ne sait pas s'ils seront en perte ou en gain. En tout cas, on ne peut pas les compter parmi celles qui vont gagner de l'argent. Autrement dit, vous avez 80% de composantes qui vont soit perdre formellement de l'argent, soit ne pas en gagner. Et vous en avez seulement 20 qui pourraient en gagner, dont 5 qui concentrent pratiquement 70 ou 80% des achats. On n'a jamais vu ça dans l'histoire des marchés. C'est une situation qui est absolument intenable, une distorsion phénoménale et dont les banques centrales sont en grande partie responsables, parce que en empêchant les entreprises qui ont un business non viable de faire faillite, eh bien, elles maintiennent une mauvaise allocation des actifs. Et surtout, la semaine précédente, qu'est-ce qui a le plus monté ? Eh bien, les entreprises qui étaient au bord de la faillite et qui vont être maintenues sous respirateur artificiel avant que l'on constate, de toute façon, leur faillite, un jour ou l'autre. Autrement dit, le marché ne fixe plus la valorisation. Le marché est simplement là pour afficher un prix. Et ce prix, il est déterminé souverainement par la Banque centrale. Donc beaucoup se demandaient, est-ce qu'il faut laisser les marchés ouverts ? On se posait la question quand les marchés baissaient. Ah oui, ça baissait tellement que forcément, on était bien mal à l'aise. Mais la réalité, c'est, est-ce que ça a un sens de les maintenir ouverts à la hausse si cette hausse, elle est faite uniquement par la Banque centrale et que le cours n'a plus aucun lien, aucune cohérence avec la réalité. Bon, je vais arrêter un petit peu avec les banques centrales parce qu'il y a un autre personnage qui m'intéresse également, qui est Donald Trump. Alors, on le pensait redevenu raisonnable jeudi soir. Il avait annoncé que finalement, relancer l'activité économique au 1er mai, c'était un peu prématuré, alors que chaque gouverneur fasse avec les moyens du bord et en fonction des données sanitaires dont il dispose. Eh bien, Trump n'aura même pas tenu 12 heures. Immédiatement, le vendredi, il s'est remis à accuser les gouverneurs qui ne voulaient pas relancer l'activité, de saboter la croissance, autrement dit, de saboter ses chances de réélection. Donc non, Trump, décidément, il ne changera jamais. Et là, il n'y a pas de machine.
Hey, hey, hey. Hey, 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 everybody. My name is Carlos Matos, and I coming from New York City, New York. Let me tell you guys that I am so excited. I am so happy. I am really so thrilled to be right now sharing this amazing, glorious, super, and exciting moment of my life with all of you guys. And let me tell you that we are really changing the world as we know it. The world is not anymore the way it used to be. No, no, no. Broadcasting live directly from the Bronx, New York, USA. What's up?
Pandemic over, whatever. Let's see here. To oil contango madness, because that seems to be the most pressing issue at the moment. Although there are two big stories today. One is with the Wuhan coronavirus, COVID-19. Is the pandemic over? Now that we have this new information from, let's see if we can get the report up here. Hold on. I need to get the actual charts. No, that's not what we want. do a search. Right? Let's do a search for Stanford. COVID-19 study. That's this right here. And the person that we're really interested in, actually, we're interested in science. We're interested in Dr. I think this is him. Yes, here we go. This is the guy. He is the co-director at Stanford Medicine. One of the most published researchers in the country, if not, in this particular field anyways. And he has done a study on COVID-19 and its transmissibility, its infectiousness. And here's the killer part of that study. They found out that it may be that there are 50 to more than 80 times the number of people that are actually infected than what is being reported in the Johns Hopkins reporting of cases in the United States and all over the world. 80 times more. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, the biggest takeaway from that is that it means, let's see, I'm going to get back to me. The biggest takeaway is that it means that if you were then to change the denominator, total number of people versus the total number of deaths, it brings the mortality rate down comparable to the common flu, or even less. Now, that's not to say that this isn't still a virulent, very dangerous pathogen. It is. Because of its infectious rate, its R naught is up around 6 or even higher. And so it spreads like wildfire through a population. In fact, you may already have coronavirus even though you don't know it. What it means is that the number of people that are asymptomatic is a huge, huge number, way bigger than what we thought before. And that the mortality rate is somewhere near 0.1 or 0.2%, maybe lower. The way this doctor has described it is that you have a greater chance of dying from coronavirus than just commuting to work. All right, think about that. So that is one of the stories. And that is a huge story because what it means is that we've approached this pandemic all wrong. There was really no need to have a lockdown, at least for us. There definitely should have been a lockdown for those people who are totally vulnerable to the virus. The elderly, the people with pre-existing conditions, morbidly obese, those people. They definitely need to be guarded because they are the prime targets of this virus. Now, that doesn't also mean that younger people that are in good health can't die. I mean, they are statistical anomalies. They are the tail risks. But they are such a minority of the case. 99-point-something% are in that previous category, the latter category, or the former category. And that's just the way it is. We have totally, well, and it was mostly because we didn't have the data yet, but we have looked at this all wrong. Now, why did hospitals fill up? They filled up because of the rate of infection. The rate of infection and also the fear that had been injected into every person through the media. both of those things caused us to, to overreact or react wrong and flood the hospitals. It would have been better off if people that had it didn't go to the hospital, because there it becomes like a virus petri dish. You are just breathing in. I mean, that's one of the reasons why a lot of these medical professionals also caught it and became ill, because it was it was like an oversaturation of the virus onto them. Our bodies just couldn't fight it fast enough. Would have been better had we done sort of like a triage or other types of events where we kept people apart. So that's where we're at. Now, what does it mean? It means, I think, that we can start going back to work. That this pandemic is over, at least for most people. It is over. No other way to say it. Now, getting on to what this is all about. The oil crisis. Can you imagine? Oil right now is priced at minus $37 a barrel. You say, Ernie, how can that be? Oh, it's less. What are we at? Minus $38.48. Oh, check this out. That's oil today. That's the oil futures. Let's go to the current month. We'll go to May, which is the current month. Oh, geez. Will it even do it? Come on. It's not even going to give me a price. Let's see if I can refresh the screen altogether. Let's see if we can get a quote. Nothing. I can't even get a quote. What is going on? But you can see the price here. This is negative territory. Zero is right here. Zero right there. Oh my God. And that, let's see, maybe we can bring up the CME website and check that out. And this will give you all the prices for the current contracts. All right. So May is currently priced at minus $38. June, the next month, as you can see, most of the volume is in June, because that means that's going to be the new front month contract as we move from May to June contract. But May, there are a lot of people that are trapped in that now at minus $38. They are getting raped. For those people who are short oil, congratulations. You are our new multimillionaires. The spread, holy crap, the spread is... The spread is almost $60. Can you believe that? The spread from one month to the next, when it's usually just a few cents, is almost $60 friggin' dollars. And of course we have contango, as you can see, normal, what looks like normal contango going further out. But that is, right now, these people are caught. They cannot take delivery. Well, they don't want to take, either, they're basically... They used to do sort of cash settlement on these contracts, but right now they're not taking cash settlement. It's either you take delivery, in other words, they deliver all that oil right to your house or wherever you're going to store it, or you take the loss. One or the other. You can't roll it. Why would you roll it for a $60 difference? Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my. That is absolutely the most dramatic thing I have ever seen other than the flash crash of 2010. There it is. Look at that. Oil. It looks like a dipstick. That's what it looks like. A dipstick being stuck right through the heart of America. America. What are we going to do? What does that mean? Does that mean that oil companies and producers are... Does that mean oil executives are jumping out of windows? Are they committing suicide today? Are they committing harry-carry right now? That looks like suicide incarnate. That right there. Suicide. That's a suicide note right there. That represents tons of investors that have just lost everything. That is companies that are completely bankrupt. Gone. Holy crap. Trader Glenn says, I believe it will cause a few, if not more than a few, futures brokers to go bankrupt. How about most of them? The futures bank. What about the producers? Holy crap! Oh, he retracted the message. Oh, put it back out there. Okay. Raziel says, how does rolling work? Does it become $60 higher without you getting any of the gains? Correct. You just roll into the next contract at the new price. Of course, you have to take the loss that you have accumulated in the other contract. I don't know why you would do that. Why not just get out? You're going to have to take the loss one way, or if you have someplace to put the oil, I guess. You don't want to be a doom and gloomer. It's not a doom and gloomer. You're just looking at it and saying, there it is. I mean, I can see it. Everybody can see it. Hitchhiker says, I work in the transportation industry. Truckload rates went down dramatically. Volume went down dramatically when oil went below 30, 40 in 2016. Well, only if the airlines had some cash. They could go out and they could lock in some fantastic prices for oil. Of course, they'd have to get it refined. Well, right now, May, Mr. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Earth, May looks like just a normal contango. It's at like $22 or something. $21. It looks like the way it should look. But we've had this double whammy with this complete lack of demand for oil, plus OPEC, the Saudis and the Russians, last month going into this production war where they just overproduced. So we had no demand and overproduction. Not just overproduction, but peak production. Will a war start now? Against who? Against ourselves? Who do you go to war against? I don't know, but it doesn't look good. Holy crap. So, let's see, I'm going to go further back and look at some of the virus comments. Not too many. Passion says, hello Ernie, I'm sure people are not afraid of secondary effects of the virus when science shows we can get problems on different organs. No? Yeah, but that's if it affects you. Now, we don't know everything yet, and I don't claim to really know much about the further effects, but most people are asymptomatic. The virus just doesn't do anything to them. It seems to only attack people who have severely compromised immune systems and failing organs and other complications. But a healthy immune system just mops this virus right up. Now, are there going to be lasting effects of the virus? That I don't know. You know, so for instance, is it going to be something like I don't know, like an HIV virus that stays in your system for the rest of your life, or herpes, or something like that? I don't know. Or, you know, chicken pox, and then you develop shingles later in life. I really don't know. So maybe those people that got it, when they get older, and if they still have the virus and they start developing old people's diseases, will they get the virus? I don't know. Really just don't know. I don't think anybody really knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows where the left sock goes. There's a little Ren and Stimpy there for you. Oil and the virus. So the pandemic, as far as I'm concerned, is over. Over. We need to get back to work. We need to get back to work and start using some of that energy that is basically free right now. Free energy. Start using that. Start using it up. What is... I don't know what this does to something like USO. What does that do to USO? I mean, USO is down pretty hard, but it's still not zero, you know? I mean, is USO a good buy right now? That's what I got to wonder, you know? I mean, why wouldn't someone buy USO at $3.73? When just a week ago, a few weeks ago, it was, you know, $13. And a few years ago, it was $120. Why wouldn't you buy that? Can someone tell me why you wouldn't buy that?
Oh, j'ai pas encore le gros canon en fait. Bien joué, ce char est cool.
Hearing that USO ETF is going to collapse. Okay, but all right. I haven't tried to buy any. I don't know if anybody's trying to buy some. What is your opinion on the oil crack and the impact it can have on stock market and gold? Damned if I don't think anybody knows right now. I don't know how to quantify this. All I can tell you is that there are a bunch of people that have hedge funds and also people in the cash market that, I mean, I guess if you're, you know, you're a buyer, you're a refinery, you're doing really well because you're buying oil. And you're buying oil at this unbelievably low price. But if you're a producer, you're like, oh, you're dead 10 times over because you're selling oil, and so you have to sell it at this low price. So, you know, those are the people in the cash market. Now, the speculators, I don't know. I guess there are some speculators out there that shorted it and some that were long, thinking they were going to catch a low in the oil. You tell me what the hell is going to happen. There's going to be winners and losers. Everything is just going to hell. Yeah, I know USO invests in futures, but can it go to zero? And usually these ETFs, they don't have just one contract. They'll buy 2-3 months out. So they may be okay with at least a portion of it, but have to take a hit on some of it. That's what I would expect. So I don't know. I got an itchy ear. What does that mean? What does it mean when you have an itchy ear? I know that when you have an itchy nose, that means you're going to get into a fight. What does it mean when you have an itchy ear? Now, what's this going to do to individual countries like Canada? What is it going to do to Canada? Canada is, their main export is oil. They are. Oh. Or Iran. Iran has got to be beside themselves.
Like stop.
So, that Trader Glenn, that's what I was talking about, being either a producer or a consumer. So, if you're a refiner, you're a consumer, and if you're buying oil, then you're going. If you're buying, then you're buying futures. You're buying oil, or you're buying futures. So if you're buying futures cheap, right? If you're buying futures cheap, unless you've already bought them, then you guarantee oil at a really cheap price. But we're right near the. I don't know how that would work. Can you take delivery on something? I don't know. It's never happened before, so I don't know what's going to happen. You think my sound is off? Is my sound off? Is my sound off? No, my sound is going. Yeah, Audrey. It must be you, because I can see the little meter going like this. I just heard that the cheapest used oil tanker is about $42 million. I don't know that the cost of a oil tanker is really the factor right now. The real cost of oil tankers is in the renting of the tanks inside the oil tanker. Where are you going to put all this oil? What we really need to do to solve this problem is just say, screw this pandemic. Let's just get everybody back to work and start consuming energy. Let's see. Usually I look at crude oil and the 10-year yield on the Treasury for the moment. Nobody needs oil for the moment. At least 3 billion people in lockdown. I mean, seems like 1929 and worse. No, but see, in the 29 crash, people couldn't just go back to work. Here, we could just go back to work. Just start everything up again. If we don't have to really worry about, catching this virus, if it's really not an issue with most people, then let's just go back to friggin' work. So a producer sells in the futures market. So someone who is producing that is selling their product, they are also selling the future. All right? A refiner is buying the oil, so they buy futures to hedge themselves. Let's see. So I guess in a way that should help the producers. The producers should be, if they hedged correctly, they should be protected. And the refiners, they're the ones that are getting smacked. Trump, is it true Saudi is hedging their oil positions, and so it's not affecting them so like I said, if you're a producer, if you're selling oil, then you're selling futures. So always think about that, like a farmer who grows corn and then wants to sell it to market, they sell futures against their crop to protect themselves in case the price of corn goes down, so that when they go to the market, they make money off of the short futures, and it artificially elevates the price that they sell the corn at. Same thing with oil. So a producer of oil, an oil rig, they'll sell the oil, and they'll sell futures against that oil. Garza says, seems like the drop today is caused by USO ETF operators. They own 25% of the CL May contracts last week. No, well, the problem is that they can't, it's not just their problem. The problem is that they're in a spiral, you know? There is no demand for the oil, yet there is this huge amount of oil, and so the price is coming down. They're not allowed to take a cash settlement, right? They're saying you got to take it all, or you just basically take the loss. I mean, no demand is like an understatement. There's just no demand at out. And see, it's a double whammy: no demand and overproduction. Which is really weird. We knew about all of this a few weeks ago when the Saudis and Russia were going nuts on overproducing. And that's why I'm wondering why we couldn't figure this out, that this would be the eventual occurrence. I don't know. All I know is that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be hurt. A lot of people that are going to be hurting. So what we need to do is we need to start using oil. We need to start consuming and creating energy. That's really the only solution. And the way you do that is put everybody to work. Everybody go back to work. Just go back to work. Do something. Do something that will consume energy. It's cheap. You can afford it. Get out there and drive your car. I don't know anything about banks seizing Shell's assets. So that's it. Everybody should like get in their car and just drive anywhere. Just like drive across the state and back. Drive around the neighborhood in circles over and over and over again. Consume more gas. Oil is old news. Elon Musk must solve the energy crisis. I doubt that. But that is another piece of news. There was some fake news attributed to Elon Musk, and that was that CNN had claimed that he didn't deliver on some promised medical equipment when he did, and they didn't bother checking. And so Elon Musk says, I can't believe CNN is still a thing. That gave Elon Musk a lot of brownie points, and so therefore they rewarded him by boosting Tesla stock. So in Europe, the lockdown is breaking down. Spring is here, and people just pouring out of their houses. So lockdown or not, we want to live. And it's not going to hurt you. That's the thing. It's not going to hurt you to get outside. You're not going to catch the virus. And if you do, ain't nothing going to happen to you. But the chances are nothing's going to happen to you. The virus is a dud for most people. An absolute dud. The mortality rate is lower, as low or lower than influenza. If you're under 65 without any ailments, even if you have ailments, actually, the stats were that even if you have ailments under 65, that the chances of you dying are less than you driving to work. So if you died yet driving to work, you're probably good. Or we could set up a large race around the USA with 50,000 cars racing in a circle. Yeah, I like that. Just go in a circle. You know? Go to the beach, come back. Go to the beach, come back. Go out and order some food, go out and pick it up, come back. Well, I agree with that, Mr. Fire Racing. It's not about the virus. It's about being controlled. At least that's the case with some of the governors. They really get a taste of that authoritarianism. All the Democrat governors, by the way. One Republican governor too, but mostly the Democrat governors. In my town, southern Spain, only 2 people died out of a population of 78,000. Most of the deaths are coming from Madrid. And I can guarantee you that they're all old people with ailments. Coronavirus is a dud. Ignore it. You don't need a mask. Go out and play. Go to work. Those are the facts. I think we still have to be, diligent and careful, and we should probably wear masks and all that stuff. We still have our elderly that we have to protect, so we have to figure out how to protect them and at the same time get back to work. We can practice social spacing, whatever we have to do. Try not to bring them to the hospital if they get sick, etc., etc. I wonder how many other deaths are piled up with corona cases. I'm not sure what you mean by that. But apparently, corona is nowhere as potent, at least for most people, as we thought. Let's see, knowing that there are a lot of asymptomatic people, how do we take responsibility to do like it was nothing and possibly infect? I just said that you have to protect them somehow. But we were approaching this all wrong. We need to protect those people who need to be protected, but we don't have to not go to work. We don't have to do a lockdown. And that's why I think that once everybody starts going to work, this economy is going to last. All right. That's about all I have to say. I've been on here too long. 2 big stories. Oil is negative for the month. The month of the May contract is negative. by $38. No idea how that's all going to work out. Coronavirus, there was a study coming out that this is the other big story. And we found that up to 85 times more people were infected with it, which implies that 99 point something percent of people are asymptomatic, and less than 0.1% people actually, it has a less than 0.1% mortality rate. That's the other big story. Two huge stories today. It's like Freakonomics. All right. Do I know about Texas Pacific Land Trust? No. I have no idea. Why didn't Wall Street circuit breaker the trip and stop the downfall? I don't know. That's a good question. I have no idea. Maybe there's... I've never seen oil circuit break. I mean, they have circuit breakers on the indexes. They, in quotes, are going to make those who do not take the vaccine bad murderers, and the people who are being conditioned will go alone to their programming, pushing... bad English. I can't read it. In Texas, you have to wear a mask to a state park, but not a grocery store. Yeah. That's kind of screwed up. Yeah, Raziel, I agree. I don't think I've ever seen a circuit breaker on oil, so there's probably not one. Get back to work, okay. Use measures to protect, I agree. Would it go via massive tests? I don't think you have to do massive tests. I think you only have to do now random sampling to, assuming that all these people are infected, there's no reason to do massive tests. All you have to do is just do random sampling. We're not any longer trying to figure out who has it and where the hot spots are and all this other bullshit. We're just trying to figure out, what is the actual nature of the disease. No, I don't agree with that test positive, no work bullshit. Because, unless, what I would say is that if you're in one of the compromised classes, you have a compromised immune system or over 65 or something like that, morbidly obese, maybe you should stay home for a little bit until the coast is clear. Work from home. And this whole idea of getting everyone vaccinated, ain't nobody sticking a fucking vaccine in my veins. No fucking way, especially if it's made by Bill Gates and his globalist Chinese and Indian team. No friggin' way are they putting a vaccine in me. I wonder if these lockdowns are going to become the norm during flu season. No, because we learned it. Hopefully we'll learn from this that a lockdown was not the answer. Yeah, I don't know about oil, if it can drop lower. I look at it where it is now, and I'm just flabbergasted. I don't know what to make of it. It dropped all the way down to $40. Now it's come back up. It's called informal English. No, it's called a lack of being able to write in a way that someone can read it. No, take the vaccine, then go to prison and get forced vaccine. So I'm wondering if, someone was talking to me about this, if you'll have to get some sort of sticker on your passport in order to be able to get on a plane that shows that you had the vaccine. That would suck. No vaccine for me. Yeah, I don't know if oil is going to bounce here. Well, why not? Who knows? Who the hell knows? It's just crazy. All right. All right. So that's really all I have to say. I was going to talk a little bit. I was going to produce a video on the 3 rules of trading for asymmetric games, but let me talk a little. Let me say that I'm going to open up 10 spots. I'm going to open up 10 spots on the on my Asymmetric Advisor newsletter, and we're going to have a webinar on Saturday. And I wasn't prepared to say this, but I'm going to produce a video a little bit later, and it will have details there. If you're not already a member of our Discord channel, there should be a link below here. Go there, sign up for the Discord channel. You'll meet hundreds of other traders and investors and get access to special deals and information. Ernie, I'm sure you read about ID 2020. No, I have no idea what that is. Sounds like a conspiracy. Maybe you're kind of referring to this idea that you have to have some sort of badge. You should use the term informal English. It's the polite way of telling somebody that they can't write or speak. Maybe, trader Glenn, except that I am not one of these mamby-pamby, politically correct bullshit artists. I just say what I think. Flaming Fire Racing, a.k.a. the 404 Man, whatever that means. That's too long of a ID. It's all in the works as we speak. Be good, little sheep. Ha ha ha, yes, sir. Please give me vaccine. Please let me take your new digital money. I'll go along with whatever you want. All hail Satan. Yep, that's pretty much it. Bill Gates, evil incarnate. Are companies like Shell and Exxon going to dump because of oil prices? So I don't think producers are going to get hurt as much by this. I think that refiners, at least from the way I'm thinking in terms of hedging, and a lot of speculators are going to get hurt. Hedge funds are going to get hurt. It does not surprise me that Bill Gates refused to have his children vaccinated. He's a scumbag. All right. That's all I've got to say. I had to come on today and warn you all, alert you all to the 2 big stories of the day. Oil and the pandemic is over. Oil has gone deep earth and the pandemic is over. Any take on China-USA dominance with what is happening? USA declining? No, USA is not declining. China going up? No. All wrong. Trump being more and more aggressive in conference. What I see is we will start refashioning our global supply chains and bringing back a lot of the manufacturing here. And slowly deplete China. Slowly bloodlet them. They deserve it. That's all I've got to say for today. Thank you very much. I'll be back tomorrow. Everybody have a great day. See ya.
Today the world changed forever, and nobody on this planet will escape the effects of what happened today. Today was oil Armageddon. This is the stuff that creates wars and revolution. Your life, my life, everybody's life is permanently changed. Today, oil opened up at $17.70 and crashed by $53.47 at this point to minus $35.20, down 292% at that point, but it kept on getting worse. You know, I started making a video earlier, and the price started crashing, and I was putting together a presentation. It takes hours to do these. And it kept on changing, and I kept on taking snapshots and changing it. And then I gave up and started to do a live thing where I was watching live charts, and I recorded all of that. I show all of the ramifications that this will have on your life and on various countries. Look soon for emergency maneuvers, for vast currency printing around the planet, for wars and for revolution to happen, because suddenly the income for many, many governments around the world just vanished. This is West Texas Intermediate Crude May contracts trading at minus $28, down 253%. And then the ticker down here says West Texas Intermediate May contract settles at minus $37.63 a barrel. But it even gets worse. This is a chart of the intraday trading, and you can see it open at 1773, and it traded as low as $40.32 a barrel. They're paying more than 80 cents per gallon for somebody to take this oil away. The seller, the producers, are paying $40.32 to have the buyer take it from them. And I mean, this truly is oil Armageddon. And with all of the oil producing countries, their income just vanished. It's gone. And many governments around the world are run on oil revenues. Not to mention the enormous industry. The world's largest oil producer is the United States. All of that went away today. And that means trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars of bailouts. This is something that, I mean, you have to watch the upcoming video. I'm going to end this introduction right now because I just can't stress how big this is, and the information in this video is very important. Thank you, and good luck. Today will go down in history as oil Armageddon. Nothing like this has ever happened to the price of oil before. As I speak, oil is at $1.26, and what I've done here is gone to, I'm just doing this live, and I'm going to a page that refreshes automatically every once in a while, and what you see here is that the oil price hit a low of $1.03 today. Now, these are the May futures, so these are contracts being made for the oil companies, the refiners, to deliver oil, not refiners, the oil producers to deliver to refiners oil. This is West Texas Intermediate Crude, I believe, and crude oil at $1.03 was the low today. And I'm doing this live because I was trying to snapshot stuff and make a presentation, but you can't, because by the time you snapshot it, it changed. and it's lower, and it's just falling off a cliff. And here's the thing. You have to be ready for a world that you have never seen before. This is going to be completely upside down. And unless you understand some of economic history, okay, $1.26, it's down 83.88%. And it was, at a buck, it was down close to 90% on the day. You've got to be ready for the weirdest economy you have ever seen. You won't know whether prices are going to be falling or rising or what's going to happen, because the knock-on effects of this, with oil being given away, it's at $1.56 right now, so it's climbing a little. With oil being given away, I mean, look at that. This is the zero line, and just let me see, when was this? This was in January 7th. It was at $64 a barrel, and today we're at $1. It's 160. $1.03 was the low. And so, I mean, they're absolutely giving oil away. In some of the heavier oils, like Canada Select, they're actually paying the oil refineries to take away the oil producers. It's in negative territory. They're pumping a product and spending a lot of man hours and resources, energy to pump that up, and then paying them to take away the product. They can't just shut it off like a switch. There's pipelines, there's a supply chain, there's tanks of oil, of crude oil, and even if they turn off the oil pumps, there's still oil in the system that they have to get rid of. And here we are at basically $1 a barrel. So that's 2 cents a gallon, right? 50 gallons in a barrel of oil, and divided by, so it's $1 divided by 50. You're talking about 2 cents a gallon. Now, there's knock-on effects that you have to understand from all this. The U.S. became, from fracking and all of the other stuff that we've been doing, the advancements in technology, we've become the world's largest oil producer. We're not the world's largest oil exporter. That's Saudi Arabia. Number 2 is Russia. And we are the world's largest producer of oil, but we consume it all, and then we import on top of that. And so all of this oil that we're producing, there are towns all over. I mean, this is all over the Midwest and Texas and up to North Dakota. It's in Colorado. It's in California. All over the place. There are little towns that are almost entirely reliant on oil, on the people working in the oil fields, the oil refineries, the ports. The oil is an enormous industry. And now this is one more thing on the list. You're going to be seeing emergency meetings of Congress, and the Federal Reserve is going to be up all night tonight trying to figure out how to handle this. And in the coming days, they're going to be announcing massive bailouts for the oil industry because so many people are supported by this industry. It just goes down and down and down the line. And so you've got to get ready. They're going to be creating trillions of dollars to do all of this. It's not they're not just going to let this collapse because of all the cities and towns entirely reliant on this industry. And the knock-on effects, when they lose their jobs, then they can't buy something from the store, which then goes out of business. And when they lose their jobs, and then all these homes go on the market, and the downward spiral goes. This is oil Armageddon. This day will go down in the history books as the biggest thing. I mean, this is as big as the first time that they poked an oil drill down into the ground and oil spurted out, and they discovered that you didn't have to kill whales for oil. You could use this stuff that was stored underground. This day is that big when it comes to history. You're really living through something amazing here. But like I said, you got to be ready for this entirely weird economy where you just don't know what's coming at you. Because, my assistant is from Bulgaria, and he was in the 9th grade when they went through a hyperinflation. And when I started talking about this, he was saying, there was one day I remember it was 2 leva, Bulgarian leva, for $1. So you could buy $1 with just 2 leva. A month later, it took 13,000 leva to buy $1. So that's the kind of hyperinflation he went through. His grandparents, who had worked and they were buying a house while Bulgaria was part of the Soviet bloc, the grandparents that had been paying a mortgage on this house and still owed the majority of the balance, they had a $100 bill and they were able to pay off the mortgage, and they bought a house for $100. A house. This kind of stuff happens, and we are in for this is the deflation that I was talking about. This is episode 7 of Hidden Secrets of Money. Right now, velocity of currency is slowing. Commodities prices are crashing. Gold is up for the day right now. It's going up, while oil is falling off a cliff. $1.26 right now. Unbelievable. And the overflow of this, like I said, it's going to sweep across the nation very quickly. So along with, the Federal Reserve and all of the world's central banks had pumped the entire world into bubbles everywhere. It was the almost everything bubble, where almost everything, it wasn't the everything bubble, almost everything bubble. There's a few things like precious metals did not keep up with the expansion of the currency supply or the expansion of the stock market, or, there was still corrections to be made when it came to the way these things balance. A bubble is caused, when you create currencies, there's something called the Cantillon effect. And that was an economist from, I believe his work was published in 1755, Richard Cantillon. And it shows that when you create currency, whatever sector that currency goes into first is inflated out of proportion to the rest of the economy. So that sector goes into a bubble. And it's when the economy isn't balanced. You can have an economy where everything is going up, not necessarily in price, but when GDP, how much goods and services we're producing and consuming, when that keeps on going up, you've got a great economy. But when you pump something into a bubble like the stock market or real estate, and it's not keeping up, the rest of the economy isn't keeping up with it, eventually the market is going to overwhelm that manipulation. It's going to snap back. We're seeing this effect right now, and it was precipitated by the coronavirus popping these bubbles. And then Saudi Arabia started a war with Russia and the United States by dropping oil prices, trying to regain market share, but they didn't realize it. They also started a war with their own foot because they shot themselves in the foot. This is where all of their national income comes from. It was $140 a barrel just a decade or so ago, and now we're talking about $1 a barrel. And so this war that they started came back to haunt them. Also, look for a crisis in Russia to happen just very, very soon. If all of the markets continue trading and stuff, you might want to go and short something in Russia, because Russia's economy, the Russian government, if you watch my episode about where I predicted back in 2010 that oil would be going back to just $10 a barrel. Well, it did that today and then surpassed it, and now it's down at $1. And so I predicted this at the annual Russian banking conference in Sochi, Russia. I was telling all these Russian bankers what their future was, and I told them that what I saw was that oil was going to crash. It'll go to 20, possibly even $10 a barrel, and then I showed them that Russia's income, their tax revenues, come from exporting commodities. They dig up stuff, they chop down trees, and they punch holes in the ground, and they export that stuff. And the vast, vast majority of that was oil exports. And so I showed them how much they were producing, what the price of oil was, and their income that they could expect from the production times the price of oil. Well, it doesn't matter how much they produce now. They don't have enough oil in the ground to support what their government consumes each year, and the vast majority of their tax revenues just vanished today. And so you can look for a severe crisis in Russia and in Saudi Arabia and every oil-producing country. Any country that relies on the price of oil for a large portion of their national income is now going through it. I mean, the crisis started today with the open, and the second oil started crashing down to these lows. This is just amazing. And what you have to get ready for is to try and navigate this and have your mind prepared. There were people during the Weimar hyperinflation that made, and these are people that were quick on their feet and quick thinking, and they weren't chained to old realities, to what happened yesterday. They tended to be the hucksters, the hoodwinkers, the scammers. They were people that sort of won. People that were not successful before, but were basically just con men. They ended up owning railroads and things, just steel production plants and things like that. Because they could think quickly on their feet. They could pull one over on people, basically. It's your job now to think ahead of those kind of people. And so you've got to really get a handle on where things could go and what to watch for when the winds keep on changing, because they're going to be changing back and forth so fast it's going to take your breath away. One day we are going to be having severe deflation. The next day, hyperinflation. It's not going to happen in all sectors. One sector will run ahead of the other. The Federal Reserve is going to be creating tens of trillions of dollars, and you can look for gold to potentially go to infinity one day. You're going to see precious metals prices not measured in thousands or tens of thousands, but possibly measured above millions of dollars per ounce before they just lop a whole bunch of zeros off of the dollar. Right now, wow, the price just did, what is the price? $1.26. Okay. So, yeah, the low of $1.03 today. Unbelievable. It is a historic day. Get ready for a reality that you have never seen before. I want to thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time. There might be another video today. If prices go lower, I'll have between now and when this video is posted, I'll have my producer director, Dan Rubach, put up a chart of the latest price, because this truly is oil Armageddon. Thank you.
armor is hit. They are mobilized. We've hit them, but we didn't penetrate their armor. Track fixed. Let's roll. Penetration. Bail out. This vehicle has had it.
Okay, everybody, it is me. Yep, me and you together again at last. We're going to have some fun here. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. History. History was made today, yet again, in this lovely market. It's just lovely. Little puffs of loveliness abound, and they are everywhere. All right, let's do this here. So yeah, this is my post-market wrap-up on this Monday, April 20th, 2020, a day which will go down in history with regard to crude oil. I want to talk about crude oil. I want to talk about and explain to you what happened today and what it means moving forward. Okay, it's actually pretty simple. Let's talk about the bigger picture here. Stocks finished down across the board. No big deal. Honestly, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed down less than 2.5%. The S&P 500 finished down about 1.8%, and the Nasdaq finished down about 1%. Okay, no panic at all, and I mean zero. Cryptocurrencies did sell off a little bit. Gold and silver caught a nice bid. 10-year yield. Let's talk about the 10-year yield, okay, because you all know how important that is. For most of the day, the 10-year yield held its ground. In fact, it went higher at one point. Stocks went higher with it. Then, as the day progressed, the 10-year yield dropped, stocks dropped with it. Now, this doesn't always happen in tandem, but that's what happened today. The fact that the 10-year yield went up and then back down again, well, that's a red flag to me. But let's go talk about crude oil. For the first time ever in history, crude oil futures have gone negative, way negative. May down about 300% on the day, and June was also down as well. Negative. This is incredible. There's so much oil awash in the world, no one wants to take delivery of it. Now that's really what drove the price of May crude oil futures falling through the floor. Let me explain this to you. The futures market's pretty simple. Speculators speculate, as they will do, on the price of crude oil in the future. Very simple to understand how this works. Now, futures contracts for May are expiring, like now. So what happens? These speculators, they don't want to actually take delivery of the crude oil. They don't want to actually own it. They want to speculate on the price and then dump it without taking delivery. But what happened here, very simple to understand. These contracts were going to expire. These speculators had to get rid of it. Where are they going to put it? In their bathtubs? So they were willing to take anything. They were willing to pay someone to take it off their hands. Hence why crude oil futures went negative. That's how it works. It's very simple. You got to watch a real market in action, okay, with no Fed intervention, no anything like that. The market really doesn't pick winners and losers. The smartest guy or the smartest girl wins all the time. Okay, all the time. Of course, you know, if we go to trading like I do, I'm a speculator. I don't speculate in futures, but I do trade equity derivatives and ETF derivatives. You all know that. You know, you're not going to get it right all the time, but if you stay on the right side most of the time, you're going to line your pockets with cash. This is why I've been explaining to you and try to make it so easy for you to trade. Okay, we got that. So with regard to crude oil, we understand now, at least I hope you do, why it did what it did today. Now, let's package this up a little bit. So we got, for the first time in history, crude oil futures negative, deeply in the negative. You know why that happened. Speculators had to dump it. They were willing to pay someone to take it off their hands. They were willing to take insane losses here. I am certain there's going to be a lot of very unhappy oil futures traders here, and some that are maybe happy. It depends. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that right now. Let's put this package together. Crude oil is what it is. Okay. This was one of the keys I spoke about yesterday. The 10-year yield, despite the fact that it dropped a little bit towards the end of the day, nothing dramatic here. And the fact that stocks, what did we do? We didn't do too much of anything here. Not even 2.5% on the Dow. Not even 2% on the S&P 500, and just about 1% on the NASDAQ. So if you look at the picture here, it's pretty simple, okay? Without something else major happening here, it would have to be pretty big. And, you know, anything can happen, as you witnessed today. This was history. Without something major happening, the disconnect between the stock market and our economy, for which we have no economy, is going to get greater. I've done this exact movement here for years. I've shown you how the economy is in free fall and the stock market kept going up. Well, you've witnessed a pretty incredible turn of events as of late. Stocks dropped like 30-something% since that time. The Fed steps in here, unlimited liquidity for the market, and we've kind of went almost straight back up in a V. Okay? The fact that our economy is, we have no economy. The fact that we have people waiting on lines at food banks for miles. The fact that we have tens of millions of people out of work and a lot more are coming. The fact that we have U.S. small businesses deliberately being culled here. It's a deliberate act, okay? To allow the corporations to take over. I explained to you how this has been working. I explained to you the discussions that are going on in the war rooms of these corporations. They believe there's too many mom and pop shops. There's too many small businesses giving the mega corporations competition. They want them gone. The new American government is making sure that happens. Why do you think Congress can't vote or can't pass a new stimulus package? Because the Democrats hate the Republicans and the Republicans hate the Democrats? No, it's one party. You understand? One party. And they're doing this on purpose. They're all laughing right now, having drinks together. You know that. While they cull the middle class, while they destroy small businesses so they can get more money from the mega corporations when it comes election time. Don't you understand? You are living in a game. And if you don't understand how it works, you're dead. You're dead in the water. You'll never understand what's going on around you. Once you realize there's one party, once you realize there's no such thing as Democrats and Republicans, that this is just a divide and conquer mechanism and they all play a game, once you realize that, it will all become clear to you. Till that time, you're going to walk through life deaf, dumb, and blind. That's the truth. This is a culling on an industrial scale, and it's going to get much, much worse. Period. The end. Okay. let's put this together real quick again. I explained to you, and I think the most simple terms possible, what happened to crude oil today. Okay, we got that down. Pretty incredible story. I explained to you, we really didn't take any kind of losses in this market today. Yeah, we finished down, but nothing dramatic. I explained to you that the 10-year yield still holding its own here. The setup is very simple. Stocks appear that they want to go up in this environment. Unless something else happens very dramatic, that's where stocks are going up. Okay? Despite everything else I just discussed with you. Despite the fact that our economy, we have no economy. It doesn't exist anymore. Doesn't matter. The gap, again, between the economy, which we have no economy, and the stock market are going to get greater and greater. We do not have a real market in any way, shape, or form. There is no price discovery mechanism behind it. It's just Federal Reserve, World Central Bank, funny money being thrown at this market, every aspect of it, either themselves, because they're buying all the debt, or the cash they're funneling to the Wall Street banks to buy the large cap stocks. They're probably buying more than large cap stocks as well. They're probably making their way down the food chain. Look, all this is going to do is foster what I've been explaining to you would happen for a very long time, the creation of a two-tier society. Extreme haves and extreme have-nots. And we're watching that culling happen. They want to keep that stock market going up so they can make the rich richer. They're not allowed to take losses. You understand? The people at the lower rung, they're done. They're decimated already. And most of the people that were in the middle class are about to fall to that lower rung. Exactly like I have explained to you would happen since time immemorial. Anyway, I think this video has been enlightening. If you believe that's true as well, I hope you do. Please share this video. Please get it out there. Let people understand the real picture of what's going on here. You know how to take advantage of this. Bet against this debt. Become your own central bank. Hold hard assets here. I still believe in cryptocurrencies, and it's going to take a hell of a lot to make me not believe in them anymore. Again, I started recommending Bitcoin at 3,700. It's about 7,000 right now. I still think it's going higher. It's volatile. Cryptos are volatile. So is silver. Gold is not as volatile. So, you know, when you think about the price action of cryptocurrencies, they don't follow silver, no. But they're just as volatile as physical silver, as the paper derivative of silver is. So this should put a perspective on that for you too. All right, look, that's it for me. I got an interview coming up today at 3 o'clock with Crush the Street. I hope all of you catch it. I don't know when it's coming out. With that said, this guy loves you, and I will see you all in the morning for more loveliness.
Motor beschädigt! Gegner getroffen!
Motherfucker.
Lager beschädigt. Kette verloren. Wir sitzen hier fest.
karat jewelry, but they're still going to buy it. And if it's more expensive, well, you're just going to maybe buy a smaller chain, a thinner chain, right, with less gold in it. But people aren't going to stop buying jewelry. So the real demand is going to be there, regardless of the price. But the investment demand is going to go up with the rising price. The central bank demand is going to go up. So people are still haven't figured out what's about to happen in the gold market. So the stocks have so much upside potential, these gold stocks. So again, it's the gold fund. My fund is Europe Pacific Gold Fund. That I think is the best gold fund out there. Of course, I'm biased because it's my fund, but again, I don't even manage it. I was smart enough to hire Adrian Day to do that because I realized it's a very, very specialized field to understand these smaller mining companies. I mean, I understand the big ones, but you have to really get down in the dirt there and really know the management teams and know the projects and know all this stuff to really know which of these small ones you want to invest in. So I think Adrian's doing a really good job of vetting these companies and creating a really good portfolio for me and for my clients who are investing in the fund or who have separately managed accounts at Europe Pacific Capital that Adrian is managing for you, where you just own the stocks in your own name, not as part of a fund. If you're a smaller investor, you can go directly to my website at europacificfunds.com, read a prospectus, make sure you understand the risks, and then you can just buy it. You can talk to the brokers at Europe Pacific Capital, or you can buy my funds at Schwab, E-Trade, Fidelity, different places. Just check, make sure you find my mutual funds on the platform. But this is going to happen, I think. I mean, this is a huge wake-up call. Today's move in oil really tells you what's possible. Because what we just witnessed today, nobody could have even imagined that anything like this could happen. But now it actually makes sense that it's happening. Well, right now, nobody could possibly imagine gold going to $5,000 an ounce in a single day. Well, you know what? No one could imagine oil going to negative 40, so it could easily happen. And even if it doesn't go to 5,000, what if it just goes to 2,000? Or what if it goes to 3,000? I mean, they're not even going to open these gold stocks. They're going to be locked all day long. You won't be able to find any sellers. It'll be impossible to buy them. It's like if you wait for gold to go up that much, you won't be able to buy these stocks. I mean, the prices will be ridiculous. So before that happens, right, if I'm right, you got to load up. I mean, what if I'm wrong? What's the downside in these stocks? Where are they going? I mean, look at how much money the Fed is printing. Look at how much money they're about to print. I mean, the upside potential so dwarfs the downside risk when it comes to gold right now. Oh, and by the way, Bitcoin, I might as well mention Bitcoin. Bitcoin down again today. You know, it was able to rally over the weekend. It got up to, I don't know, maybe 7,300, 7,400. I forget how high it got. But as I'm recording this, it's back below 6,900. I mean, Bitcoin cannot hold a rally, right? Anytime there's a rally in Bitcoin, there is somebody selling into it. Right? There is major supply overhanging this market. Even though we're about to have this halving, right, where everybody says, oh, the supply is going to go down, there is a supply of Bitcoin for sale. People are looking to unload it. And, right now they're patient and they're selling into the rallies. But at some point, they're going to just have to sell into the dips because there's going to be no more rallies. And so before this happens, start selling. I guess the good news when it comes to Bitcoin is there's no real reason that the price of Bitcoin would ever go negative. So at least if you're a Bitcoin hodler, at least you got that going for you, right? I mean, the worst case scenario is your Bitcoin goes to zero. You're not going to have to worry about having to pay somebody to take your Bitcoins off your hands because you don't actually have to store your Bitcoins. You can just forget about them, like basically I did. I mean, I have some Bitcoin that I can't get any access to because I don't know the password, but it's not costing me any money not to have them. So that's a small consolation for the people who own Bitcoin. It's not going to be nearly as bad as for the people who own the May contract in crude oil because crude went to negative 40, and the worst that you're ever going to see Bitcoin is zero. Anyway, that's it for today. Should be a very, very interesting week. Maybe we'll get a much bigger reaction tomorrow to the events that took place today, because believe me, based on what just happened today, the markets really haven't reacted at all. And I was talking last week on the podcast, I didn't trust that rally. I didn't think it's a new bull market. It was a bear market rally. There's too much negatives. Yes, I get the Fed and I get QE and 0% rates, but that's all the market's got. Yes, it's a powerful ally when you have a Fed with a massive printing press, but ultimately, the market forces may overwhelm the Fed, at least in the short run, before they crank up the presses again to try to engineer another rally But at some point, the dollar is going to collapse and
Enemy
take
vehicle
that,
destroyed.
that tool away from the Fed. Because ultimately, when the dollar collapses,
We've had
it
it.
doesn't matter how
Everybody
much
out.
money the Fed can print if the money they're printing doesn't buy anything. Anyway, that's it for now. Oh. I don't have my mouse. So I had a mouse. I'm using a different, oh, here it is. Where's the, okay, I found it. All right, there we go.
Bewegung!
motherfucker.
Wir haben sie nicht mehr angekratzt.
comme ils se font voir au dernier moment, quoi.
We know there's gonna be good audio because Ed's at home. Well, that's a switch. Tighten it up. Yeah, so if the penetrance is the virus, we want 4%. Right. Rather than 0.5%. I think. Okay. You know, when it changes.
rien à me dire, ils ont gagné. C'est-
Positive. Thank you for asking. Don't take it personally.
Did they say go? It's like the water slide, right? You first.
Bewegung!
Surprise, motherfucker.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Following the release of our reopening guidelines, governors across the country are looking forward to phase one and announcing plans for an economic resurgence. We're going to have a resurgence at a time when millions of American workers and families are struggling with the financial consequences of the virus. It's critical to continue the medical war while reopening the economy in a safe and responsible fashion. During this time, Americans must maintain strict vigilance and continue to practice careful hygiene, social distancing, and the other protective measures that we've outlined and that everybody's become very familiar with. We continue to be encouraged that many of the areas hardest hit by the virus appear to have turned the corner. For example, recent deaths are down very, very substantially. You can compare that with their peak not so long ago, and you have numbers of 30%, 25%. In Detroit, as an example, it's down by over 50%. Congratulations. And in New Orleans, where they've done a terrific job, they're down 65%. 30 states have just one case or less per 1,000 people, far fewer cases per capita, as an example, than Germany, the United Kingdom, France, Italy, Ireland, Switzerland, Singapore, Belgium, Spain, Norway, the Netherlands, Austria, Sweden. My administration continues to press Congress to replenish the enormously successful Paycheck Protection Program, which has impacted 30 million American jobs. We hope to have an agreement very soon, and hopefully tomorrow the Senate's going to be able to vote. A lot of progress has been made on that, tremendous progress. It's a great plan. It's a great plan. It's helped a lot of people. So we hope to have a vote, maybe tomorrow in the Senate. And based on the record low price of oil that you've been seeing, it's at a level that's very interesting to a lot of people. We're filling up our national petroleum reserves, the strategic reserves. And we're looking to put as much as 75 million barrels into the reserves themselves. That would top it out. That would be first time in a long time it's been topped out. To get it for the right price. We're also pushing for the deal to include an additional 75 billion, our deal that we're talking about. $75 billion for hospitals and other healthcare providers. Many providers and their employees have taken a huge financial hit in recent weeks, and visits, elective procedures, surgeries, et cetera, were canceled. We think that they can all get back online. They'll get it done. The hospitals have really been fantastic. The hospitals, they've stepped up to the plate, really done a great job. We appreciate it so much. For areas less affected by the virus, we've issued new recommendations about how to safely resume elective treatments. HHS has also distributed the first $30 billion in direct payments to 1 million healthcare providers across the country. We've also invested $1.4 billion in community health centers to ensure our most vulnerable communities, including many African American and Hispanic American communities, have access to the services and testing that they need. Earlier today, Vice President Pence spoke with governors from all 50 states about our unified effort to defeat the virus. He had a great call. It was a great call, very positive in, I'd say, every way. Prior to the call, we provided each governor with a list of the names, addresses, and phone numbers of the labs where they can find additional testing capacity within their states. Many, many labs. We're providing you with a list. We'll show it to you now. If you need it, we'll give you the details. But hundreds and hundreds of labs are ready, willing, and able. Some of the governors, like, as an example, the governor from Maryland didn't really understand the list. He didn't understand too much about what was going on. So now I think he'll be able to do that. It's pretty simple. But they have tremendous capacity, and we hope to be able to help him out. We'll work with them and work with all of the governors. Similar to the situation with ventilators, states need to assess their complete inventory of available capacity. Some states have far more capacity than they actually understand, and it is a complex subject, but some of the governors didn't understand it. The governor, as an example, Pritzker from Illinois, did not understand his capacity. Not simply ask the federal government to provide unlimited support. I mean, you have to take the support where you have it, but we are there to stand with the governors and to help the governors, and that's what we're doing. And they have a tremendous capacity that we've already built up, and you'll be seeing that. We're going to be introducing a couple of the folks in a little while to talk about it. I want to draw your attention to Governor Cuomo's remarks during his press conference today. He said the president is right. The state's testing is up to the states to do, which will implement the tests and logistically coordinate the tests. We have about 300 labs in New York, and they're great labs, actually. And it's my job to coordinate those 300 labs. I think the president's right when he says that the states should lead, and the governor's they're really getting it together in New York. A lot of good things are happening in New York, and I think the governor's going to come in to see us tomorrow. He's coming to the Oval Office tomorrow afternoon. Andrew is going to be coming in with some of his people, so we look forward to that. Some of the articles that just recently came about, if you remember, and I put out a statement today, for a month it was all ventilator. That's all people could talk about was ventilators. And we did a great job with that. We built a lot of ventilators, to put it mildly. We have so many now that at some point soon we're going to be helping Mexico and Italy and other countries. We'll be sending them ventilators, which they desperately need. They were not in a position to build them themselves. But we have thousands being built. Every state they have the ventilators. If they don't, we have almost 10,000 in our Federal Reserve, our stockpile, as they call it. And we did a great job with the ventilators. Unfortunately, the press doesn't cover it other than the fair press. But so then you say, gee, they need ventilators, we don't need ventilators. And that's under pressure we did it. Nobody that needed a ventilator in this country didn't get one. And a story that just came out, how the media completely blew the Trump ventilator story. I'm sure you would love to see that. That's by Rich Lowry, respected journalist and person. How the media completely blew the Trump ventilator story, which unfortunately it did. And here's another one that just came out. Kyle Smith, the ventilator shortage that wasn't. The ventilator shortage that wasn't, because we got it fixed. And we're also going to help the states, by the way, stockpile ventilators, so if a thing like this should happen again, they've got them. The stories on testing are all over the place, that we're actually in good shape. I'm going to have the Vice President and others speak to you about that, but we're in very good shape on testing, and we're getting better all the time. We're going to see some interesting things. I thought before I went any further, though, I'd like to have General Semonite, who's done an incredible job, tell you where we are. You know, we're still building beds in hospitals for people that need them. I guess the hospital business, General, is getting pretty much closed out now, but we're creating a lot of space for people just in case, and in some cases they probably will be using them. But I thought the General, he's been so impressive and done such a great job. I thought on behalf of the services and on behalf of the federal government, he'd say a few words about what we're doing right now. Thank you very much, General.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Just want you to know that on behalf of all of us in the Department of Defense, our thoughts and prayers go out to all of those patients and all those victims that have been affected by this terrible virus. And the President and Vice President talk all the time about the heroes, but when I've been out there, I've seen the doctors, I've seen the nurses, and all those that have worked very, very hard. And we're just so proud to be part of this noble calling. For my team, I really made it very, very simple. I said there's 3 legs of this stool, and they all have S's. There's sites, in other words, hospitals. We've got to worry about supplies, and we've got to worry about staff. And so right when Governor Cuomo called the president about almost 30 days ago, he said, I need some help worrying about what could be tens of thousands of hospital room shortages. So the president and Secretary of Defense asked us to fly to Albany with a team. And on the way up, we understood how complex of a challenge this was. And we knew there's no way you can solve a complex catastrophe with a complicated solution. We needed a very, very simple solution to be able to then work with HHS, to be able to work with FEMA, to be able to work with the Vice President's task force, and then to be able to power this down all the way down to the local level. Some of the governors asked us to try to build a hospital in a parking lot or a field in 2 or 3 weeks. You can't physically do that. So what we said was, let's go to where there's an existing facility. And I'm going to kind of make this in 2 big pots. Those that are either hotel rooms or college dormitories, smaller rooms, or those that are in real large areas like field houses or convention centers. And we designed those standard facilities that could be either non-COVID or COVID, and then we got that approved here at the federal government to be able to then power that back down. So we went to Governor Cuomo, and he said right up front, I love the concept. I need you in the Javits Center. I'm ready to start having you work tomorrow afternoon. So when we flew back that afternoon, the next day, we basically built this standard design and then continued to be able to power it down all the way down through the rest of the team. So I just want to show you a couple slides here, and we'll kind of let you know where we're at right now, Mr. President. We had to do a bunch of assessments. So somewhere in the order of over 1,100 different locations we went to, and we worked for FEMA, we worked for the president, and we worked for governors and mayors. And we said, what do you think your demand is going to be? And based on a lot of the modeling that's been in this room here, we were able to understand when the peak curve was, but we also were able to understand where's the bed shortage. So then these 1,100 facilities, right now today, so we're actually at 32 different facilities. That's on the order of merit of about 16,000 beds. 8 of those are all done. We've still got a lot more to complete. And in the next week and a half, we're going to complete about 15 more facilities. We've got some pending. Some mayors and governors are still wondering, do they have enough bed space? And what's important here is we need a very agile plan. You can't do something 3 weeks ago and think that this is going to continue to stay, because this virus gets a vote. And this entire team, the federal government, has tried to be as agile as they can, supporting those states and those governors. The beauty of the plan, though, is it doesn't have to be built by the United States Army Corps of Engineers. So we designed about an extra 52 facilities. We gave those to the governors, and I've got to be very, very laudatory to the governors. They then imposed and put a lot of those on the ground and did those themselves. So let's go. I'm just going to show you some real simple pictures here. Go to the next slide if you don't mind. So this is an example of the Javits Center, and you've heard the president talk about it quite a few times. This one, about 2,100 bed spaces. What you get is about an 11 or 12-foot square cubicle. There is lights in there. There's a nurse call, so if you need to be able to call the nurse station. There are nurse stations throughout. There's pharmacies throughout. This one started as non-COVID, but then we came back in and put in central oxygen. So everybody has oxygen right behind their bed to be able to take care of those patients. And again, built this one, about 1,000 patients treated. Let's go to the next one. I was up in Detroit with Governor Whitmer, and she walked us through and told us her intent. Here's where she needed to do this in the TCF Center. You'll see all the cubicles that are laid out. This is right in the middle of a convention floor where there might be like a boat show or a car show, and then went in and built 970 different capabilities there. And again, a lot of great work by my guys in the Corps of Engineers and the rest of the mayors and the city's team all pulling together. Let's go to the next one. This is called the McCormick Place. Governor Pritzker sat us down. He said, here's kind of our intent of what you want to do. Mayor Lightfoot walked us through, and we went into another large convention center. This is actually 3,000 bed spaces, a very, very large build, and got this one done in a relatively short time. And then here's another one that kind of helps you understand the dynamic here. Go to the next one, please. This is in Miami Beach, and I flew in to see Governor DeSantis. And my guys had kind of scoped out about 450 beds, and he said, Todd, how long is it going to take to build this? And we kind of said probably till the 27th of April. And he went to his health people and he said, how long do you need? And they said, the day we need this is the 21st of April. And I told my guys, you don't have till the 27th. Figure out how to get it done by the 20th. This is where you don't get to build to be able to have the perfect solution. You got to be able to get the mission essential done. Lives are on the line here, and we've got to be able to get everything done to be able to save those lives. And let's go to the last one here. This is one we're doing right now, Colorado. This is in Denver, another gigantic convention center. You'll see all the different cubicles here to be able to just bring in that oxygen, 6-inch copper pipe that comes in, and it's all piped throughout the entire convention center, 6 miles of pipe that's able to go in to be able to make that happen. And in closing, I just want to be able to say that we are very, very focused in the Corps of Engineers getting this done. But this is all about the team, the federal team, the state team, the local team, the vice president's task force, and a lot of the people sitting here have informed us of how fast we need to go. And it goes back to, again, all the governors and the mayors that make this happen. But I want to reiterate, President Trump has called me 3 times, and Secretary Esper has been on the phone at least one of those times and said, what else do we need to do to set you up for success? Is there any other knobs we can turn to be able to help you go? And you think about that equation of those 3 S's, I think that with the federal government and the mayors and the cities here, we've effectively taken that first S out of the equation. And so I can't tell you, of all the things I've done in my career, this is a noble calling to be able to step up and save American lives. So with that, sir, I thank you very much.
Are there more projects, sir, beyond the ones that you've just identified that you'll be working on?
So about a week ago, we thought we were about capped at 26. What we're seeing is, and I said the virus gets a vote. We're seeing some of these curves are stretching out where we might have thought we only had 5 or 6 days. We actually have a couple weeks now. Other ones we're seeing exactly the opposite. So where we didn't think there was some, and I'm not going to go into locations here, but we are definitely getting requests in. We've got 6 more requests in just in the last 4 or 5 days. They're a little bit smaller facilities in more remote areas, but our job, if we have enough time to go build, we want to get in there, do the assessment. We work for the mayor and the city and the governor here, and we can still get them done if the mayors and those elected officials make a fast enough decision.
Of the wall on the southern border, and we want to build 450 miles of wall, and it's very much under construction. You might give them a little bit of an update how we're doing with the wall.
So, sir, I think the most important thing, and you stressed this, and Secretary Esper stressed this, there's really several different priorities here. Our number one priority in Department of Defense and the Corps of Engineers is to protect the team, protect the force. No matter what we do, we've got to continue to take care of our civilians and our service members out there. And so every single thing we're doing, whether we're building for the VA, or we're building for Civil Works projects, or for the Department of Defense, or building on the southwest border, we are going out of our way. I talked to my commanders this morning. We've got over 4,000 contractors that are on the ground out there, and we've had no positives as of this morning, knock on wood. Same thing with my 400 employees. We're testing them, not necessarily with a more stringent test, but with temperatures to be able to make sure that everybody's safe and everybody goes out of their way to do things the right way. construction is going very, very smooth. What we're seeing is our contractors are extremely focused. Now that we've got a good, clear path, both on the CBP program as well as some of the DoD program, we, I think, very well postured. It's a very, very aggressive build, but we're well postured to be able to meet your expectations for a 450 by the end of December 2020.
And we're over 160 miles.
164 as of today, sir.
4 miles, and we'll have it done sometime pretty early next year. Very exciting.
Yes, sir.
And you might just say one thing, the quality of that wall in terms of its power for stopping people that shouldn't be coming into our country.
So same thing. If you have a standard design that you trust in and it works very well, I've got a pat on the back, Commissioner Morgan. He was very adamant to continue to be able to make sure that it supports his agents, and so we've got a design now that certainly does that. And then we've got a phenomenal contractor workforce that's in there, my Corps of Engineer employees, and it's going in well. We don't see any significant problems. And I think it's also important to point out that we want to do this the right way. So we try to balance this with environmental considerations are out there. We're trying to do due diligence when it comes to anything to do with any of the citizens who are affected. We're trying to make sure that we're protecting all of the things that we need to protect and try to find that balance where we can both meet the administration's directive while at the same time making sure we're doing this so that everybody gets a vote and everybody has a fair shake.
May I ask what you're doing regarding the availability of, at the recreation sites that the Army Corps of Engineers operates? How the access is going there and whether or not there are restrictions?
So I'm an engineer. I take my guidance from some of these experts sitting on the bench over here. And when the president says, turn on America, what we initially did, like many, many other governors, they, shut down beaches, shut down cities. I had a meeting with my commanders this morning, and as soon as we think it's safe, turn them back on. I mean, parking out there at a rec area where you're 500 feet away from everybody in a camper is probably low threat. I will continue to take guidance from the administration, but where we get green lights to continue to put our rec areas full up and let everybody go back out there and do things the safe way. I mean, we work for the administration, so I want to do it safe, but I don't want to be the last guy that turns things on. Not at all. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for walking through some of the efforts. Can you say anything about whether or not there are any specific efforts in communities that are hardest hit, like Black communities or Latino communities, communities of color? Are the Army Corps of Engineers doing anything that would be building any sort of temporary facilities for those communities?
So we basically key off what the city asked for, the city and the governor. There are a couple specific areas that certain city mayors have asked us for. Again, I'm not going to go into details, but we basically, if they go in and say, I'm very worried about a hot spot on this side of town or a specific community here, we will do, and that's what the administration's charged us to do, is whatever we can do to be most responsive. We just don't want ever to have an ambulance pull up to the back of a hospital and somebody says, we're out of room, go to the next hospital down. So that's where we're trying to make sure that that bed space is available. And so far, everything we've built has been ahead of need. In other words, we're able to finish the building 2 or 3 days before it's needed. Thank you, ma'am.
So you really have a choice. You can stay and watch these wonderful people ask us really nice questions, or you can go back to building beds.
Sir, I got a lot of building to do. I'm going to leave if you don't mind. Thanks, sir.
Very impressive. That's an impressive job, isn't it? Seriously? It's really great. Thank you very much. These are terrific gentlemen. We have a lot of great people doing that kind of thing that we really have to get recognition for the incredible job they're doing. Because I don't think anybody else could do it. Nothing like that. And that's on top of thousands and thousands of hospitals. And, he built, just in New York alone, 4 hospitals and 2,900 beds. And got them done so quickly, nobody saw anything like it. Fortunately, we haven't had to use too many of them, and that's okay. That's probably better news than having to use them all, right? Because a lot of good things are happening in New York and elsewhere. So through the public-private partnerships and deregulation, the federal government has already made immense testing capabilities available, but some states need to take action to fully utilize it. To date, the United States has conducted millions more tests than any other country. You can add them all up, and they don't catch us. And our numbers are doubling almost on certainly on a monthly basis, but almost on a weekly basis. We're moving very rapidly, far at a number nobody thought possible. and we'll be doubling our number of daily tests if the governors bring their states fully online through the capability that they have. We have tremendous capability out there already existing, and we explained that to the governor today. Mike and all of the people explained it very strongly to the governors. They really get it now, I think. As the experts have explained, this capacity is sufficient to allow states to conduct diagnostic testing to treat patients, as well as contact tracing to contain outbreaks and monitoring to pinpoint potential hotspots during phase 1. And there are some hotspots, and we have them pinpointed, and they can really cover it very, very nicely when they know exactly where to go, and they're being told where to go. And also these locations where they're going, and some of them are federal. Some of the governors didn't realize they were allowed to use federal locations. They are. And we have a booklet of the federal locations. We can hold it up. I think you'll show that. Maybe we'll hold it up now. Yeah, okay, fine. But you see the number. These are all locations where they can go, which is really pretty amazing. This is just one page out of many. Look at this. These are all locations. That's a lot of locations. And they can all, what is it, 5,000? 5,000. So that's, thank you very much. That's more than anybody thought. And it's already there. They have to use it. That's all. They have to use it. Some weren't aware. Some were very much aware. Some weren't aware. My administration also continues to support states with our massive operation to deliver masks, gowns, gloves, and other vital supplies. Admiral Polachek and his team at FIFA are really, what a job they've done. And Pete, what a job he's done. They're calling on Easter Sunday to make sure everyone's okay. But they're using detailed data about supply chains to track the deployment of 1 billion pieces of protective equipment through private distributors every 2 weeks. So what we're doing is we're delivering a number that nobody anywhere in the world is delivering. FEMA is working closely with Dr. Birx and the distributors to prioritize supply of resources where they are most needed. We're finding the location that they have to get to that location. We have locations that are very important to get to and get to them fast, and that's where they're going. So we have a very strong priority. This pandemic has reaffirmed the importance of keeping vital supply chains at home. We cannot outsource our independence. We cannot be reliant on foreign nations. I've been saying this for a long time. If we've learned one thing, it's let's do it here, let's build it here, let's make it here. We've got the greatest country in the world. We got to start bringing our supply chains back. Somebody years ago got this crazy idea, let's build all over the place and let's have parts, let's have a screw for a car delivered and made in a country that's far away. And let's have a fender made someplace else, and let's do this and let's do that, and let's put it all together. And I like making it right here in the USA. And I think we've learned a lot about that, and especially maybe when it comes to pharmaceutical products. We've also conducted major military operations, providing cities and states with additional medical capacity, and the incredible 1,800 men and women from the Army Corps of Engineers. You just met with Todd. The job they've done is incredible. But we have nurses, doctors, we have experts in every field all over. Spoke with Governor Cuomo, spoke with Mayor de Blasio, spoke with many of the other governors that I'm both friendly, and I think I'm friendly with just about all of them, if you can believe it. But I've gotten friendly with a lot of them. I've gained a lot of respect for a lot of the governors, both Republican and Democrat, during this process. Some really good people, some really good talent. But we're sending a lot of our medical people, not only our construction people like Todd Semonite, but a lot of our medical people are being sent all over the country to different locations. New York City, New York State, New Jersey. I spoke with Phil today. He's doing a terrific job in New Jersey, but New Jersey got hit very, very hard. Phil Murphy, governor. From the day this crisis began, America launched a scientific mobilization of colossal size and scale. Someday they'll be able to write the true story, because nobody's seen anything like it. The fake news just refuses to cover it correctly, but that's okay. The people are understanding, and that's what matters to me. There are now 72 active trials underway across the United States, researching dozens of therapies and treatments, and another 211 are in the planning stages. They're they're literally mobilizing on therapeutics and also on vaccines. A tremendous progress is being made on vaccines, and I must say on therapeutics. I mean, frankly, if I had my choice, give me the therapeutics right now, because that would help people right now. We have some things that I think are working, not only working, but we have some incredible things that look like they could be an answer, but we'll know soon. Being tested, working out right now. This includes their therapies designed to attack the virus, as well as others that would hinder its replication, reduce the rate of infection, control the immune response, or transfer life-saving antibodies from the blood of recovered patients. And one of the incredible things that we've seen, and Mike and I were talking about it before, is the fact oftentimes somebody gets very ill from the plague, okay, from this horrible scourge, and they get better and they recover. The first thing they say is, I want to give my blood. That's happened. The doctors have told me it's happened so much. I want to give my blood. I want to give my blood. And they're doing that. But tremendous things are happening. You'll be seeing that over the weeks. I think we'll be talking about it in the not too distant future. Johnson & Johnson's very well along on vaccines. Again, the vaccines have to be tested. The therapeutics are for now. But a lot of good things are happening on both. But ultimately, we also hope to prevent infection through a safe, very safe vaccine. And that'll be a great thing when we have that. And we will have that. So with that, I'd like to introduce Admiral Guar and Brad Smith to discuss some of the incredible things that have been done. And they really are what they've been able to do in a very, very short period of time. With and equipment. You're going to see equipment that you haven't seen before. And if you just come up, Brad, if you guys would come up, you could give us a little display of some of the equipment that we have and some of the things that are happening having to do with testing, because testing is a big word. Remember, it was all ventilators. And the reason it was all ventilators, they said there's no way he'll ever be able to catch this one. And not only did we catch it, we are now the king of ventilators all over the world. We can send them anywhere. We have thousands being made a week, and they're very high quality. And that wasn't playing well, so then they said, testing. Oh, we'll get them on testing. Well, testing is much easier than ventilators. Ventilators are big machines that are very complex, that are very expensive. You need you need a group of people that really know what they're doing. We took auto lines, we took a lot of different people, and now we've done that. But it used to be ventilators. Now it's testing. And I think the Admiral, and I think that Brad will show you some things that you haven't seen that are really very spectacular, having to do with testing. We're way advanced. The list I showed you, these are places you can go if you're in the States. 5,000 different machines. 5,000. They're all over the country. And we have international also, but these are all over the country. But you'll see something now that's really eye-popping in terms of what they've done. And they've done this under great pressure. They've come up with things under great pressure that are absolutely amazing. So please, if you would. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I want to talk about a couple things today, a little bit different than I've spoken about before. Since early March, we've really been focusing on two key concepts for testing. Number one, to assure and expand supplies in the U.S. market. This is really critical because we were talking about really a cottage industry with very minimal suppliers that we were asking to supply over a 2-week period of time the normal production that would be for at least a year. And as simple as a swab is not a swab is not a swab. And we need to be very careful that when we put something in a person and tell them a test result, that it's really correct. The second component is to secure sufficient supplies at FEMA during this time of peak disease, where we could alleviate any maldistributions within the state This is the theme of process of requesting and sending things out and also supporting outbreaks. So starting in my office many weeks ago, we assembled a multidisciplinary team of really incredible people. The medical side of the equation, which I represent, the laboratory side of the equation, high-tech side of the equation, logistics and operation. And Brad Smith his day job is director of the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, an incredibly important component of our country's CMS system, building the future healthcare system, but has done a really incredible job operationally and logistically in bringing everyone together. We have focused on every piece of the supply chain that relates to testing, down to the most minute detail, and he's going to talk to you about some of that. But that started in the second week of March with starting an airlift, because the only supplier, the main supplier of swabs at that time, was a place in Italy that was completely shut off because of the outbreak in Italy. So Admiral Polubchek arranged Greytail Air Force planes to go to Italy to bring millions of swabs back to secure. That's just how it started, and it's expanded since then. The second part is we've been really marrying, and this has been the beauty, the logistics and supplies to the overall strategy. Two pieces of strategy. Number one, what is the overall testing strategy? And Dr. Birx has had just an elegant strategy in the past, but even more important in the future, when we make sure we take care of indigent populations and those most vulnerable. So the clinical, the contact tracing, and the monitoring of those who are at most risk. We've also married it to the strategy, and you've heard more than you wanted to know about it, that a small machine that's point of care is good for certain things, but it's not going to test 5,000 people over a short period of time. So the small machines, the medium machines, and the large machines, and how to contextualize them. And the third thing, before I give it to Brad, which is very important, and it's really critical, is coordinating the research, the epidemiology, and the FDA regulatory process. And why is that so important? When we started 5 weeks ago, if we wanted to test this many people with the technology we had, we would have used about 80% of the Strategic National Stockpile in PPE just to do testing. We needed an innovation. That innovation was to be able to test out of the anterior nose with a completely different kind of swab. It sounds very mundane, but if you don't do that, you can't get the testing to scale. That allowed us to really go to widespread testing. Last week, moving to polyester swabs, which is going to open up millions of new swabs onto the market. But that's a regulatory science and innovation step that had to co-occur with this. And with that, I'm going to let Brad talk about some of the details that he has really shepherded over the past weeks in ways that have truly been amazing and incredibly impressive to me.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor of a lifetime to be here and serving in this way. I've been working under Dr. Birx's and Admiral Gerard's leadership over the past several weeks to help increase the supply of testing across the United States. As you all know, there's really three parts that you need to make the test work. First, you need the machine, which is Dr. Birx will share more and the President spoke to. We have a very, very large number of those across the United States. It's about making sure that we're taking advantage of them. The second part of the testing is making sure that we have the collection supplies to actually be able to collect the specimen, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then the third part is making sure that you have the materials you need to support the machine to ensure that you can actually process the test once it gets to the lab. I'll let Dr. Birx talk more about the machines here in a second, but as you'll see, across the United States, we have a tremendous number. They range in variety. So we have some very small machines that do point-of-care testing. They may do, say, 50 to 100 tests a day. We also have other very large machines that can do several thousand, process several thousand tests a day. On the collection supply piece, I'll talk through a couple different kinds of collection that can be done. So for the nucleic acid test, which